Right, I think that is everybody in. So look, good afternoon all, and thank you for joining me today to listen to an overview and the highlights of the Coral Expeditions cruise series along the west coast of Australia, and with a few south coast destinations included. This cruise series consists of four really beautiful expedition itineraries, and not including a brief kind of Kimberley cruise offering overview, which I'll also include. If you've got any questions throughout the presentation, then please feel free to pop these into the chat function on your computer, and myself and Nigel, who I'll introduce shortly, will try and address these at the end of the presentation. We'll also be recording today's presentation, so for any of you who haven't made it to attend live today or have to disappear for whatever reason, we'll just send you a recording and you can kind of watch to your heart's content. My name is Will. I'm a member of the Coral Expeditions sales team. Joining me today, we're lucky to have Nigel Collette. Nigel is part of a recent member of our product and development team, and is heavily involved in the planning and delivery of our wide range of expedition cruise product, and is going to be providing his commentary on some of the main highlights across this expedition cruise series. Nigel is also doubly qualified, as he's been a long-term expedition leader with Coral on board, leading many of our kind of domestic focused expeditions around Australia, and I'll introduce him in a little bit more depth shortly. So Coral Expeditions is Australia's pioneering expedition cruise operator. We've been sailing for 40 years now, and our fleet of 3 really specialised expedition ships and tenders take guests to some of the most beautiful yet undiscovered islands and coastal regions of the world. Our travellers are attracted by our relaxed small ship atmosphere and itineraries that larger ships just cannot replicate. And at a time when the cruise industry is moving to larger and less personal ships, we've deliberately limited the size of our vessels to maximise the expedition experience. Our cuisine is prepared small batch on board using quality local produce and wine. So in WA, we'll have a focus on Western Australian beers, wines, single malts, and obviously food and seafood. And we operate to high Australian standards of safety, with Australian crew wherever we go. We were the first to employ interpreted programs reflective of the destinations we visit, and to employ expedition leaders, of which Nigel was one of them, guest lecturers, marine biologists, and scuba instructors. And it's a tradition that continues today. For those of you who have cruised with Coral Expeditions previously, be that in the Kimberley, our range of domestic itineraries, or beyond into international waters, you're going to be more than aware of the style of expedition product we offer, both on board, but also whilst exploring the varied and stunning destinations we visit. For those new to Coral Expeditions, it's worth stating right away that if you're looking for that classic big ship experience with multiple bars and restaurants, white jacketed waiters, nightclubs and casinos, then the Coral Expedition product is probably not what you're looking for. Instead, we offer an informal, relaxed on-board experience with no dressing for dinner, no assigned seating, and no formal on-board entertainment outside our schedule of lectures and presentations from our guest lecturer and expedition leader team. And like I say, specific to the waters in which you cruise. The whole ethos of the company is to focus on the stunning destinations we visit rather than the ship itself. And that's a very different prospect from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. We offer a minimum of 2 shore excursions daily and utilise our trademark and unique explorer tenders, which I'll come on to shortly, to ensure your time is really maximised ashore with no waiting or queuing. Our shore excursions are also tailored to all, no matter the levels of fitness. And so we offer our guests anything from a strenuous walk or hike to a site of interest or viewpoint, through to a gentler beachcomb or exploration of the area. And in suitable locations, we also offer the chance of staying aboard our explorer tenders to cruise through the bays, creeks, rivers and coastlines, for those of you just not inclined to head ashore on that particular day. The point being that we offer a range of excursion opportunities to fit all fitness requirements and hopefully specific areas of interest. And again, all shore excursions are accompanied by our expert expedition team. We do not outsource to third parties, meaning we can guarantee the quality of the ashore offshore and onboard expedition experience. And so, look, whilst we're focusing on the West Australian coastline today, this slide just gives you an idea that, yes, we've been cruising the waters of the Kimberley for the last 30 years. We pioneered Kimberley expedition cruising. But when the rains start to fall in kind of early to late October up in the Kimberley and the Northern Territory, our entire fleet disperses. So we have amazing domestic range, anything from a 58-night full circumnavigation of Australia to kind of shorter, more bite-sized expeditions in WA, across the south coast, all the way across the top end of Australia. Tasmania, after the Kimberley, is probably the second most popular domestic cruise destination. But we also have a range of international departures from, regular trips. We've been going for the last 10 years or so throughout the islands of the East Indies or the islands of Indonesia. We've got full circumnavigations of Sumatra, Sulawesi, Papua New Guinea, and we've got cruise series that go up through the islands of Micronesia, all the way to the small islands of Japan, back down through the Philippines. And for those of you looking for a non-tropical kind of experience, we also offer, obviously, the east coast of New Zealand and down to the subantarctic or Australia's subantarctic islands. I'm not going to go into, obviously, too much detail. We've got a lot of product to cover today. We will try hard to keep it to around the 45-minute mark, but it just gives you an idea that hopefully we can get you aboard one of our West Australian itineraries. But if you've been to WA, you've done the Kimberley, we've got a large range of cruise options for you. So just to highlight the Kimberley, we're not going to be focusing on the Kimberley today. We're very aware, obviously, that it's up on the west coast. We run fortnightly Kimberley expedition cruise webinars, so you're more than welcome to join us to delve much more deeply into this really stunning region. As mentioned, we pioneered the Kimberley 30 years or so ago. It remains the core of what we do as a company, and we have more than 45 departures every single year between April and October. The bulk of those departures are made up by our classic Kimberley offering that you can see on the screen. We call it the Kimberley cruise. It's 10 nights between Darwin and Broome and vice versa. So the itinerary is exactly the same, just in reverse order, depending on which is your departure port. Departs for the full season between April and September, and we use all three of our ships to offer those 45 plus departures. We've got a few departures in August and September every year. It's still 10 nights, still between Darwin and Broome. We still get to see all of the major highlights of the Kimberley, but we've included a couple of nights in the Tiwi Islands. The Tiwis are a particular kind of indigenous art centre, so there's lots of genuine cultural experiences, but it's also got a more art theme. So if any of you are interested in indigenous art, you want to buy direct from the artists themselves, then that could well be the trip for you. And like I say, we do it every year, August and September, aboard our smallest vessel, Coral Discoverer. And then the final Kimberley kind of iteration is our Kimberley Icons. So this is an additional couple of nights. So it's a 12-night, again, departing between Darwin and Broome, September every year. It's still our classic 10-night Kimberley expedition, with the addition of those 2 nights, which allows us to cruise pretty much out into the open ocean, into international waters, to experience Ashmore Reef and the Rowley Shoals. Amazing marine life, amazing scuba and snorkel opportunities. And if you have those extra, 2 nights or 2 days to play with, it could well be the trip for you. I'm not going to go into any more detail on those trips. Join us for a real Kimberley focused webinar every other week. Next one's next week, so jump on the website and sign up if it's of interest. I just have a really short video just to kind of tempt you with some of the Kimberley highlights, and then we'll move on with the presentation. So that's just a little insight into our kind of classic Kimberley expeditions. As I mentioned, we pioneered Kimberley expedition cruising. We've been doing it 30 years. I might be a little bit biased today, but I don't think anybody does it better. If the Kimberley is something that's of interest to you, like I say, join one of our fortnightly Kimberley webinars. We've got some fantastic offers in market for you guys as well for the whole of the 2024 season. So pick up the phone to us, speak to your travel agent as required, and we'll happily see you on board. But just to summarize, the whole ethos of Coral Expeditions, both domestically and in international waters, is to discover unique and remote destinations and cultures. We don't go anywhere near the Balis or Boracais of this world. It's a real focus on really remote, impossible or hard to access by traditional forms of transport, where small ship expedition cruising is kind of the only way that you can get there. And it's all about spending more time ashore, maximizing your time ashore. We do this in part using our Explorer tenders. You can see on the screen there. I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail later. But whereas the big ship lines out there, the ship is the destination, our purpose-built expedition ships are just designed to take you in very premium levels of comfort, but to take you to these really remote places. But it's all about maximizing your time ashore and experiencing the places that you've paid a considerable amount of money to experience. And it's all about sharing in the expert knowledge of our expedition crew and guest lecturers. I mentioned we don't have any formal onboard entertainment. It's purely lectures and presentation from our onboard team to allow you to be kind of forearmed with the knowledge that you need to truly appreciate that the history, culture, geology, art, flora, fauna, the very varied destinations we go to. And we do this in true expedition style, small groups and no waiting. So I'm coming on to the our fleet in a second, but we have a maximum capacity of 120 guests on board. We can on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes using the Explorers there you can see on the screen. So it means there's absolutely no kind of allocated shore excursion times. We're going to be spending 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day really exploring the areas that you're exploring. And we do all of this with an informal, laid back, but still very, very premium onboard experience. Coral Expeditions is a 100% Australian owned company. We sail under the Australian flag, and our crew is entirely made up of Australians, admittedly with a few Kiwis scattered amongst them. And we provide that kind of true blue Australian onboard experience. And so moving on to the our expedition fleet. So we operate a fleet of 3 modern purpose-built expedition ships. And for this particular West Coast cruise series, we're actually going to be utilizing all 3 of our expedition vessels. So Coral Discoverer, as you can see on the screen, she's our smallest vessel, and we like to describe her as kind of like a yacht-like experience. She's got a maximum capacity of 72 guests on board. And all you really need to know, and this is applicable for all 3 of our ships, is that all of our cabins are en suite. All are outward facing, so there's no internal cabins. Even our lead-in cabin category has at a bare minimum porthole windows or picture windows, and many have private balconies depending on the cabin category that you are after. But Coral Discoverer, maximum 72 capacity, and we use her pretty much exclusively in domestic waters. Coral Adventurer. So Coral Adventurer and the next slide, Coral Geographer, are our 2 newest ships. So Coral Adventurer launched in late 2021. Coral Geographer launched in late Coral Adventurer was launched in late 2019, and Coral Geographer in late 2021. They're practically identical to each other, sister ships. They've got a maximum capacity of 120 guests spread across 60 staterooms, and again, all en suite, all outward facing. And as you can see from the picture there, many have private balconies depending on your own personal requirements. I'm not going to go into too much more detail. We've got a lot of content to cover. Please jump onto our genuinely excellent website where we have ship walkthrough videos, images, deck plan layouts, all that type of thing. Please peruse to your heart's content, or speak to your travel advisor, or pick up the phone to our reservation and service team based up at our Cairns head office, and they'll be more than happy to have a chat. So just moving on to the guest experience. any coral expedition cruise, domestic or international, offers that kind of relaxed and informal onboard environment. And we encourage an open interaction between our guests and crew. We have an open bridge policy on the top left hand side of the screen there, and allows regular interactions with the captain. And there's both plenty of in and outdoor areas to relax and enjoy the stunning scenery drift by, usually, I must say, with a cheeky gin and tonic or glass of wine in hand. The onboard guest experience is at its core built around two main areas. So the delicious culinary and wine experience, and the schedule of lectures and presentations from our onboard experts. The aim being that you can kind of fully immerse yourselves in the flora, fauna, history, geology, and cultures of the places that we visit. So Coral was one of the first cruise operators to employ interpretive guides on our cruises, and it's a tradition that continues today. So each trip includes a mix of our full-time guest lecturers who join the expedition team, and special guest lecturers who are chosen for their specific local knowledge and expertise. And then each cruise is going to be led by a dedicated expedition leader like Nigel joining us today, who will work closely with the captain to determine our daily programme and ensuring that the best use is made of the prevailing weather and tidal conditions. Your expedition leader will join all shore excursions and activities. They'll provide daily recaps and briefings, and they're always on hand to answer any questions that you might have. They use our ship's shallow draft, quick disembarkation capabilities, which I'll come on to, our special tender equipment, such as the Explorer vessels and Zodiacs, and our open deck spaces on board to take you up close and personal to the remote places that we visit. And so moving on to our explorers, and if you take away anything from this presentation today, I would hope that it would be our really unique explorer tenders. They're one of the most, if not the most important facet of any coral expedition cruise. Our explorers have been purpose designed and built by Coral to provide the perfect conduit between our ships and the remote regions that we visit, be that here on the West Australian coast, but on all our domestic and international itineraries. And it's something that no other cruise line, domestic or international, can offer. They're really easy to board directly from one of the main decks with no steps or ladders to contend with before being gently lowered into the water. And they provide comfortable padded seating, a full audio system to assist our guides in sharing their commentary. A canopy overhead protects you from the sun, particularly crucial when we sail in the predominantly tropical waters that we operate in. And there's a toilet on board for remote convenience. And this might not sound like a big deal, but it's absolutely crucial to avoid having to constantly head back to the mothership to take those, regular toilet breaks, which would really kind of interrupt the whole shore excursions and kind of expedition experience, and allays the need to have a quick dip in the ocean or find a suitable bush, particularly inadvisable in places like the Kimberley, where there's the ever-present risk of big saltwater crocodiles. In short, the explorers are crucial in allowing us to deliver a true expedition product. They allow easy access not only to beach and harbour landings, but provide the perfect option for exploring the bays, fjords, rivers and coastlines. And they allow us, as mentioned, to on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes, which again means more time spent actually enjoying the areas you paid a particular amount of money to experience. So you can see on the screen here, top right hand side is the boarding process. So it's an easy level walk straight on, and then they're lowered. So the bottom right hand image is the hydraulic system, and they just get gently lowered into the water, and then away you go. You'll see what we call a dry landing on the top left. So we've got a drop down like a landing craft ramp. Many of the places we go to, don't have harbour facilities, just the nature of the beast, of the remote kind of wilderness areas. So they're perfect for both wet and dry beach landings. They double up as a absolutely perfect scuba and snorkel platform. You'll see on the left-hand side of the screen there, and they're completely unique to coral expeditions. That being said, it's important to note that, we offer the more traditional kind of inflatable Zodiacs, on all of our fleet, all of our ships and all of our expedition itineraries. And it allows you guys as our guests to pick and choose, how adventurous or not you want to be on a day-by-day basis. The last point I'll make on the zodiac, so I've spent many an hour on some of the zodiacs. The first 10 minutes can be, quite exciting, quite enjoyable, but the enjoyment quickly wanes. If you think, cruising in the Kimberley or WA, the hot tropical baking sun, you've got absolutely no back support, you're bouncing over the waves, and the enjoyment can start to wane quite significantly. You can jump aboard and have a great time on the zodiacs, but the explorer tenders, cater to our particular demographic. They're far more comfortable, but we use, like I say, both our explorers and zodiacs in conjunction with each other to provide that real, true expedition experience. And so, look, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Nigel Collette. So Nigel is a recent member of our product development team, but he spent many years as one of our expedition leaders on board, I think all three of our vessels, and has done pretty much all of our domestic offerings, expedition itineraries, and I believe some of his international trips as well. He's based down in sunny Tasmania, or not, as the case may be. So welcome, Nigel. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Willem, and good afternoon, everyone out there in Webland.
So look, we've got a lot to... Sorry, carry on, Nigel. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say I just spent about 2 years with the expedition team, as William said, and now have recently moved to product development. So this is my first webinar. I'm normally talking in front of people, not computers, so go easy on me, please.
Look, thank you, Nigel. Look, without further ado, we're going to move on to our first trip. So the Abrolhos Islands and the Coral Coast. We've been running this trip now for many, many years. It's 12 nights between Fremantle and Broome. Departs every year, Feb, March and September. And we took both of our newest ships, so Coral Geographer and Coral Adventurer, for those 2024 departures. So CG and C8, our two newest ships, have you just seen, maximum capacity of 120 guests on board. But this expedition explores, WA's wild and largely untouched coastline, with a fascinating maritime and indigenous history, from the Malgana people of Shark Bay to the exploratory journeys of William Dampier, Dirk Hartog, Bowdin and Fressinet. And this region is really layered with stories which your onboard guest lecturers and expedition team, really highlight. The natural coastal reserves harbour, an abundance of bird life and marine species. And our guides are going to help you guys explore the world-renowned Hootman Abrolhos Islands, Shark Bay World Heritage Area, Ningaloo Reef, Cape Range National Park, Montebello Islands, the Murion Islands, and the Dampier Archipelago. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Nigel, on the first slide, and away we go.
Thank you. Here we are at the Dampier Archipelago, and I just want to say it's a very wild coastline, and it is a great distance. I have driven that coastline many times, and to do it on the cruise ships that we have is a much better way to see things that you'll never get a chance to see. So Dampier Archipelago is quite famous for its petroglyphs. We do get local rangers on board for this season as well to give us some really good indigenous content. There is also snorkeling options around the Dampier as well. I'm actually just working on the trip resource documents for it at the moment. And yeah, as I said, it's a wild, barren place, but full of beauty, and that's WA. So yeah, next slide. And the Montebellos, this is another very wild, barren, remote and beautiful. This whole area that we sort of go through up there is it's not mountainous and it's not tropical. It's and you can see by the amount of shipwrecks that have happened and that maritime history that sort of comes in there, just how tough it would have been on any of these places back in the day before satellite phones, etc. So the Montebellos, I guess you'd call it famous, but there was 2 nuclear test sites done in the 50s there. We do go spend a little bit of time at ground zero, not over an hour. So it's once again an experience that you just can't really do any other way unless you know someone with a yacht, and hopefully they've got air conditioning and a chef as well. So next one. And the Murion and Suria. So once again, It's another beautiful. There's some really good places in here that we've been doing this now for around about, this is about our 8th or 9th trip coming through, and we do with the expedition nature. If we've got time, we're going to send the explorers out. Go out really early before you guys have had breakfast, and we'll go and try and find new spots as well all the time. So we're always sort of researching, and then that comes back into future itineraries as well. So we've got some snorkeling options, some diving options in a really dramatic, wild and remote coastline of WA. And an Exmouth, Cape Range and Ningaloo Reef. So when we're here, we do a third-party operator. We use a local bus company so that we can get you down into Cape Range National Park. Being a World Heritage Site and being a pretty wild reefy coastline, we can't get our explorers in to there. We're literally just not allowed to, and it is quite dangerous. So we do hire a bus for the day, and then that takes you through the sites and into Cape Range National Park. We do a great walk at Yardie Creek. We do a really good drift snorkel at Turquoise Bay, check out the lighthouse and go to the Discovery Centre as well, and you get a little bit of free time in Exmouth. There is also dive options available with a local dive operator. So it's a really good day, that one, and you get to check the whole park out completely. And Francis Perron National Park. So we're down near Dirk Hartog Island. This is another, as you can see, there's nothing quite like WA coast. It's that red sand and beautiful waters, wild and barren. The bottom shot is sort of Dirk Hartog Island there, if I can remember. So we do some hikes around here. We beach land. And once again, as William said, we have our awesome local guest lecturers who have a wealth of knowledge, and also our expedition leaders to sort of make the most of your day. But once again, to try to drive out to here, it's a long way, and it's a big 4-wheel drive track. So to be able to land comfortably on an Explorer on a remote beach in this national park is a real bonus.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I'll add there is that shot you can see on a couple of those is how perfect our Explorer tenders are for these really remote beaches, not just in WA but beyond. As Nigel said, to get there by road is practically impossible, but to be able to pull in the comfort of those Explorer tenders, the ramp just drops down, and then happy days. We're in a beautiful remote national park.
At Shark Bay, not too far away from Dirk Hartog, you can see it's just that red sand. It's beautiful. It's wild. It doesn't look like anything else in Australia. My sort of two favourite parts of Australia, I think, are Tasmania because it's small and compact, and then WA just because of the diversity. But it is hard to drive and get around. Shark Bay's quite well known, quite famous area there, and you can just see you sort of, it's that desert. It's hot. It's wild, and it's remote. You're not going to see other tourists out there. Pretty sure no other operators even try to touch these areas, and that's the difference with Coral is we have the toys to be able to get comfortably and safely into these incredibly remote and beautiful and unique locations.
And like I say, again, my 2 cents worth, the top right-hand image there just shows the Zodiacs and Explorer tenders kind of working in conjunction with each other. So you guys can, more or less pick and choose, how adventurous you'd like to be on any given day.
And the Abrolhos, very well known for its crayfishing, amazing diving and snorkeling. So this trip runs in reverse. Sometimes it'll go from Broome down to Fremantle. Other times it'll go Fremantle to Broome. Exactly the same itinerary, just done backwards. I had a fabulous day at the Abrolhos Islands. There's some very friendly seals. We were on a remote little cay in a beach, and these two seals just came and played with all of us on the beach and in the water. It was a really remarkable day, and one that I will never forget. And that's nature, and when you're out amongst it, when it is wild and remote, you really never know what's going to happen. So we go to Post Office Island. So you can see that little island there on the left. So that's just sort of cray fishing stations. Some of the best crayfish in the world come out of there. And we sort of do a little tour of Post Office Island as well. So it's a really good day. And once again, it's unless you have your own boat, it's nearly impossible to actually get out to these sort of really remote places. Great snorkeling here. Some really good history with wrecks and the Batavia, etc., etc. So as you're sort of coming down the coast, and because we're stopping off every day, that history, the maritime history and whatnot, all just sort of comes into play as the guest lecturers and the expedition team and do their roles to keep educating you and keep you updated on where we're going to on the next day.
Thank you very much, Nigel. And we'll swiftly move on to our next kind of focused itinerary. So Ningaloo and the Blue Water Wonders of Australia's West is the name that we're calling it. 12 nights. It's a broom to broom departure, departing September this year and then May in 2025. Again, aboard Coral Discoverer. So our smallest vessel, maximum capacity 72 guests. So moving swiftly on. So before I hand over to you, Nigel, so in my kind of intro to WA, I focused a little bit on our 12-night kind of Kimberley expedition, and the Rowley Shoals was one of the reasons that we tacked on an extra couple of nights, because we've got to cruise out into kind of international waters. And you can see some of the highlights of why this shoal is in the middle of nowhere. Basically, it takes this best part of a day to steam out there, but as you can see, just superb snorkel and dive options, or for those that just want to laze on the old sand K, happy days. But sorry to interrupt, Nigel, over to you.
All good. So I've done a couple of the Kimberley icons. I was on the first run. That was my first run with Coral, was going out there, and the Rowley Shoals is unbelievable. It's so beautiful. The coral's super healthy. The fish life is healthy. Once again, it's quite a way off Broome, and it is an absolutely stunning place. So to be able to sort of tap into that one with this new Ningaloo tour is, snorkeling and diving on par with as good as I've sort of seen anywhere around in Australia. And I have been lucky enough with previous jobs and this job to go and check quite a few of them out. So it's an amazing place, and it certainly won't disappoint.
I just had a question pop through just relevant to this. Do you give us an idea of how long it takes to cruise out to Rowley and back? Most of our cruising is done at night, so we generally will sort of, it's around about, I don't have it offhand, nautical miles, but it is I think it takes nearly, so we'd be leaving in the afternoon, we'd probably be there by the next morning ready to go. So that's sort of how the itineraries are generally worked out with our nautical mile trip distance, so that we're not really, unless we've got an absolute day at sea, we will have to sort of push through, but otherwise we'll do all our, we'll pull anchor and move at night and be ready to go for the next day. And look, that's a good kind of segue, actually, Nigel. It doesn't matter if we're here on WA or in the Kimberley or international waters, wherever possible, we will reposition the ship overnight. So you guys, as our guests, wake up in a new location, crack of dawn, and then away we go. We try not to waste your time by, cruising during valuable exploration time. So we've touched on the Dampier archipelago previously, but I just put a few extra kind of images there to talk about. Yeah, so you can see the petroglyphs there on the left, really old, ancient, historical Aboriginal artwork there. You can see the texture of the archipelago down there. It almost looks like it's not real. It's an incredible area. And really unique. It looks very different to the rest of the places that we stop. It's got different rock formations. It's very, very unique. And you can see why the people that live in the Pilbara all own boats, because they love to go out there on their time off. Water's warm, good snorkeling, great fishing, good diving. So we get to have a play around, once again, a really unique part of WA. Thank you. The Murian Islands. Yeah, so once again, beautiful snorkeling, clear water,
You're not going to see any other tourists out here. It is offshore. Once again, only really way you can get there is with a boat, and that's what this company does so well. When we're out in these really remote areas of nature that you really wouldn't be able to get any access to at all. So yeah, moorings are beautiful. We've got a few options here. We can sort of duck and hide with the weather a little bit if we've got wind from one direction. We've got a few extra options available to us, and that is part of what we do. The itineraries are flexible to a point. If one place that we're looking at is a little bit blown out, we will go to a plan B around the other side, or get out of the wind and get into the best possible part for the day to make sure your experience is the best that it can be. We touched on Cape Range before, so this is that's a lighthouse there on the left-hand side. And yeah, once again, that's Yardie Creek up at the top right. So it's a beautiful walk that we do up there, up through the national park. Lots of sort of opportunities for get some little rock wallabies up there, and there's eagles, and you can normally see normally stingrays, etc. in that creek. It's generally very clear, and you're on that wild, that classic red sand desert, Kimberley coast. That bottom picture on the right, you can just see the sort of Yardie Creek Road. It's there's no infrastructure in the park. There's a couple of campgrounds and a ranger station, so there's no development. It's wild. It's WA, and hopefully it always stays that way. So Ningaloo Reef, once again, I don't think I've been anywhere snorkeling better than that place, and I have been blessed with some amazing places. There's not many places in the world that you can literally just sort of a couple of meters off the white sand of the beach, and you put your head under the water, and you're in a beautiful, healthy ecosystem and a living aquarium. So yeah, this this is a sort of more the aspect of this trip. There's more snorkeling, more time underwater, and a slightly sort of different itinerary, obviously, to heading all the way down the coast. So more water based, and more snorkeling and diving. So yeah, it looks like a great trip.
And look, just to jump in as well, as you can see from the screen, you know, whale sharks are seasonal up on the reef there. So very much it's definitely a kind of selling feature of this Ningaloo trip. But there are certain departures where the whale sharks are potentially present, and there's a departure obviously where they're definitely not going to be present. So if the whale sharks are of kind of particular interest to you, please reach out to our kind of res and service team, and we could advise you accordingly. The last thing I'll say about whale sharks as well, admittedly it's not domestic, so you do have to jump on an international flight, but we've got an amazing East Indies, or the island of Indonesia, cruise series as well, where the highest density of whale sharks are left on the planet. You know, Raja Ampat, the Coral Triangle, you know, jump onto one of our East Indies webinars, which are coming up pretty shortly, or jump on the website. If whale sharks are kind of your kind of raison d'etre, and we'll happily get you to see them both domestically or in international waters.
Once again, we're back to the Montebello Islands. We spend a good day here. As you can see, it's a pretty remote place. So we've got plenty of landing options here as well. So we can sort of get out of the wind if it's from one particular direction. And we do go back to go to ground zero, as I mentioned with the other trip. So pretty similar day to the Fremantle to Broome, West Coast to Brollis Explorer. We spend a bit of time there. There's some swimming options, some snorkeling options, weather dependent as well.
Thank you very much, Nigel. And moving on, so the next itinerary across the Great Australian Bight, 14 nights, Fremantle to Adelaide, departing October this year aboard CA, or Coral Adventurer. Again, one of our more modern ships, a maximum 120 capacity. Obviously, I'm aware that there's a certain South Coast / South Australian focus to this itinerary, but I've included it because, of course, it departs from Fremantle and includes the kind of southwestern coastline of WA. So without further ado, moving straight on to the first highlight.
One of my favourite places in WA, down around sort of top end of Margaret River area, southwest WA. Pretty hard to beat. Cape Naturalist, we got Dunsborough and Meelap Beach. So we land there, we spend the day, You can see those beautiful clear waters. The explorers come right up on there, and we do a bit of walking, bit of hiking, bit of swimming. It's a really nice day there, and a great way to experience to be able to come in by boat and not be sort of driving up and finding a car park somewhere. So beautiful southwest WA. I lived there for around about 4 years. It's a great part of Australia. We have a signature event at Lewin Estate. So we do a bit of a food and wine extravaganza there. And then Hamlin Bay down the bottom, we beach land there. And you can see those beautiful big manta rays there. They're local. They're there all the time. They're very friendly. So that's a really sort of good couple of days out down there on the. It's a little bit further south it's right in the heart of that sort of Margaret River wine area there. And Lewin Estate's beautiful, and Hamlin Bay. So it's a really good place to sort of spend a day and check out a little bit of Margaret River before departing on to the next one.
And I can personally recommend the old art series. Lewin Estate Chardonnay is a delicious drop in one of my favourite vineyards that I've had the joy of visiting. Moving on.
Then we head a bit further south down to Augusta. So that's Cape Lewin, Lighthouse and Jewel Cave. So we do buses pick us up. We do a little bit of bit of bus time going to a variety of spots. We walk out to the lighthouse there. That's right down at the southern end as the two main oceans join down there. It's quite an iconic lighthouse and an iconic spot. Jewel Cave is wonderful. We have fantastic guides that work there for parks that take us through, and we spend a bit of time down at Augusta as well. So that's right at the very bottom end of of southwest WA. Another good day out. So we spent around about 3 days pottering around the southwest, exploring and checking everything out down there before we sort of start moving into the Bight and across.
And just to add, I've had a couple of questions already in terms of kind of physical requirements, but I'll address those shortly. But in terms of Jewel Cave, I haven't been there personally, but it looks like it's a relatively, boardwalk experience. It's not a caving experience as such, I take it?
No, you don't need to bring your head torch and caving equipment. It's a very professional setup. There's a few stairs at the start, but you can see it's all, they're Parks has been running those now for quite a while, so they are managed by WA Department of Conservation. They're well lit, and your tours, and also just part of the expedition team's job is to basically we walk with you guys, we keep you safe, we are there with you every step of the way as well. So if anyone ever needs some assistance, that's part of the expedition team's job to help you along and get you down some stairs or give you a helping hand if need be. So there's always team there to assist in any particular way, shape or form that might be required. Breaksea Island. I didn't get to go to this one last time. I'm pretty sure we had a little bit of wind. Oh no, we did. No, we did get there. Yeah, so that's sort of around the corner, sort of heading towards going towards Denmark. It is. Yeah, sorry, it's been a little while since I have been down there. Once again, beautiful white sands, granite outcrops. We go out to that island there. There's it's a great place for viewing seals, etc. around that, and just getting a view of that coastline, which I hadn't seen before because I'd always driven through it. So you can see that top right one. It's really dramatic granite cliff lines that you get to see from the boat and the explorers that you wouldn't get to do normally. So yeah, beautiful part of the country. And Bremer Bay, famous for its whales, depending on the time of year. We sort of anchor off and do a bit of an explore. We might do a scenic cruise, depending on the weather. We do get a little bit of swell down there. So we have a few options available to us, but beautiful clear waters. And there's actually very good for killer whales there as well. Off the trench that's a little bit further out is where they congregate at large parts of the year. So you might be lucky and see a pot of orcas as well.
And I've already had a question come in about Bremer Bay and the orcas with the canyon. So I don't think we specifically go out to the open ocean in the canyon, I believe, but it's just luck of the draw if you're there at the right time. If they're coming in, I take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, we did get a little bit of wind on the trip that I did. We went out to the canyon because we could get out there and do it. So it's all, once again, it's a great Southern Ocean. Like the boat is, and the itinerary is at the whim of nature. And we will always do our best and make the most of whatever we've got to make sure the day goes well, and sort of plan ahead, sort of coming forward as well. But obviously, you can see with breakers like that on the left, we're not going to beach land in anything like that. So we'll find alternative spots to land. So it's a flexible itinerary. It's all about keeping everyone safe and getting into the best places in the safest way. Ah, yes, the iconic Skippy on the beach. This is one of my favourite places in Australia, I think. Reminds me of Freycinet, but I do live in Tasmania and I'm quite biased. But it's just those beautiful, big, rocky granite outcrops around Esperance and around that area. Some of the whitest sand, apart from maybe Bay of Fires in Tasmania. And like kangaroos on the beach. We do a really great walk here. We sort of beach land and then sort of like walk up and over. Wildflowers if it's the right time of year. The tracks are really good as well. It's well managed, that park area. We break the kayaks out for a bit of paddling and swimming at Lucky Bay as well. And just get to spend some quality time at Cape Legrand. It's those beaches in there are very protected as well. So yeah, beautiful part of Australia, really unique.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I've been lucky enough to spend a little bit of time on a holiday down in Esperance and the wider region. And speaking as an ex-English person, they are the most stunning beaches I've ever seen.
Woody Island and the Rochelle archipelago, once again, really remote. You're not going to get out this way. Even if someone you knew owned a yacht, they probably wouldn't want to venture out that far, I don't think, anyway. We sort of beach land here. There's a couple of walks. We've got that pink lake you can see in the top right. We do a bit of a hike out to that. So it's managed by Department of Conservation again. So yeah, very remote. Great opportunity to spend some time in another beautiful location. We do some walks along there. Weather permitting, we'll go for a swim and do a bit of a beach comb. You can see how nice that beach is there, and spend the day there. So yeah, once again, unique opportunity to get to a piece of Australia that not many people get to see. And Cape Arid, once again, WA, it's wild, it's remote. It's all national park. There's no luxury lodges or pubs, or there's just nothing there apart from that park. So it's a really stunning, big, wild expanse of beaches, and you can see there's not a lot of forest down there. It's a very harsh and arid environment. So it's which is what makes it so rugged and so beautiful. So we do spend some time there on some of those beautiful beaches, and have a swim, do some hikes, and have a bit of a good look around. Flinders Island and Abalone. So we spend a day here. We work with the local operator to enjoy this little an abalone farm there. So get to be immersed with the locals there. They cook up some abs, show us how the process works as well. And yeah, once again, very pretty hard island to get to. I think you can fly to it, but there's not much not much going on there as far as accommodation, etc. goes. So it's nice to be go back to the cabins and have our onboard chefs cook you a great meal and drink some great Margaret River wine after a day of tasting abalone. And once again, back into South Australia now. And we've got Coffin Bay. So we work with the local Coffin Bay oysters. They come and do a fantastic little presentation of shucking oysters and enjoying their oysters. And I've got to say, Coffin Bay oysters, even though I am very partial to Bruny Island ones, I think Coffin Bay are the best in Australia. And the guys that we work with are fantastic. They're the owners of the farm. They tell you how it sort of came about. But yeah, beautiful spot. And spending some time in there at Coffin Bay.
Yeah, and look, I spent 4 months actually during the first COVID lockdown in 2020. I say stuck in Coffin Bay. It's a beautiful place to spend the lockdown, and it's one of the most spectacular areas I've been in Australia. And I agree with you with the oysters. They're absolutely yeah, delicious. So look, I'm very aware that I'm taking up more than our kind of allocated 45 minutes. We've just got one more kind of expedition itinerary to cover. Whales and Trails of Western Australia. We've actually partnered a few years or so ago now with the Australian Geographic Society. So this is one of our partnered voyages, and they have some of their applicable kind of experts on board as well. It's 10 nights, Fremantle to Fremantle, departing in October this year aboard the Coral Adventurer. So without further ado, I'll move on.
Okay, we're in Bunbury, so for the first day. So slightly, this is a different itinerary, slightly tweaked to the Fremantle through to Adelaide itinerary. So we sort of spend time in Bunbury. We do the mangrove walk. We go do some wine tasting. So a little bit a different experience to the Hamlin Bay ones. So they're not identical itineraries. And once again, Southwest WA, can't go wrong with a wine tasting down there. And here we are at Hamlin Bay. So we do a little bit of the Cape to Cape track here. So that runs from Cape Naturalist Lighthouse down to the Port Augusta Lighthouse. Quite an iconic 6-day hike there. So we sort of pull into Hamlin Bay on the Explorers. We do a little bit of walking around, weather good, have a swim, and sort of spend a bit of a day of activities down there.
Yeah, look, I probably should have mentioned as I was introducing this particular itinerary, we've called it the Whales and Trails because it has a particular focus on not only just the whales but the marine life, but also some of the the stunning kind of walks and gentle hikes of southwestern Australia, basically. Hence the name, and the Cape to Cape track is one of the most famous down there.
Denmark, another great place. So Madfish Bay, that's what we're sort of looking at, sort of like the top left there. Some really stunning, I think Denmark, I think actually I do like it more than Margaret River. It's less developed. There's less wineries. It's smaller, a little bit more intimate. The wineries down there are sensational. And yeah, just not that sort of. Margaret River has grown a lot and they do it very well, but Denmark's sort of like Margaret River 15, 20 years ago. Beautiful place down there, nice and relaxed, beautiful beaches, and fantastic wines, some of the best in Australia. So really good day down there. Nice one to sort of break up some hiking, swimming with some local fresh produce and a drop of shardy.
Sounds like a perfect day.
Okay, we've got Point Anne and the Ravensthorpe Art Trail. So quite unique, this one. I haven't done this one myself before. As I said, it's a new itinerary. And coming on board with, I have done an Australian Geographic cruise before. The people that they bring on board are just sensational. They are sort of like next level in their knowledge. They quite often send one of their like fantastic photographers along with it as well. So I haven't done this one personally, so can't add too much to it. But yeah, it's quite a well-known art trail with some really great quirky Australian like bits and pieces there, as we can see. And obviously like whale time, so this whole one will be in whale season, so hopefully there'd be like lots of sightings, and obviously with the ship, if we do see something, we slow right down and have a good look. So if we do follow or see, you'll be the first to know over the speakers about what's going on. Esperance, so we've got some different walks here again, and we're going to Twilight Beach back at Lucky Bay. So once again, different hikes, more varied. You can see by the top left, they are very well managed. They're all quite sort of grade 1 to 2. They're easy to moderate, and just hiking through that beautiful area. You can see Lucky Bay down there on the bottom right as well. So that's a little campground and car park. So it's nice to be just sort of anchored off and just sort of cruise on in the Explorers and enjoy a day in a pretty special part of Australia. I spent some time at Albany for that day. We'll be joined, I believe, with some Indigenous sort of rangers or locals that will be taking us on that Indigenous walk for some added content. As I said, I haven't done this one personally, so I can't give you that I've been there and I've done it. But everything that we do is for a reason, and it's because it's the best that we can find in that area to experience that and make your cruise a memorable one. We can see once again Albany, beautiful countryside, big granite rocks, beautiful beaches. With the whales and trails, that's what we're hoping we'd be definitely seeing some beautiful humpbacks up close and personal. So we are obviously with the option with our explorers, we can launch, get up close within the legal limits that we're allowed to do, and hopefully get some really awesome up close and personal experience with our southern wanderers there. Flinders Bay Reserve, you can see it's quite stunning, beautiful clear waters, and yeah, good place to be. And once again, we've got our Cape Lewin signature event. We have a great meal there with matched wines. Cape Naturalist, we do some hikes around there as well at the Ambergate Reserve. So sort of quite different in the bush setting down there in the bottom right. So it's varied. You get some coastal stuff, and you also get some of those sort of southern forests and that as well. And obviously lighthouse there, and some great wines on the left.
Thank you. And look, that was a reasonably, brief overview of those kind of 4 itineraries that we've been focusing on today. We've gone well over the kind of 45-minute schedule, guys, so I apologize for that. If you guys want some more information, please jump onto our website. We give you full detailed day-by-day itineraries. There's videos, there's images, there's maps, so plenty for you to peruse. If you've got any questions, obviously you can reach out to us direct on the Explore email address or the 1-800 number, or please reach out to your preferred travel agent. We've been working with our trade partners for 30-40 years now, so either is fine, and we'll happily answer any questions that you may have. Again, I appreciate we're going over a little bit. There's just been a few questions that have come through, which I will answer very briefly, if I may. So firstly, a couple of you asked how, the physical requirements of the various trips we've covered today. So I touched on briefly at the beginning of the presentation that we cater, and this segues into another question, i.e. the age range and demographics on board. So age range wise, we don't have any age restrictions across the fleet on any of our itineraries. That being said, it's very rare to have kids on board, and when they are there, they are exclusively traveling as part of that wider family group, where the grandparents are maybe paying for the wider family to have that kind of big bucket list experience. Physical requirement wise, we cater to our demographics, and our sweet spot is the kind of 50 plus with a medium age, late 50s, early 60s, something like that. So we're aware that, we have to cater for said demographic. So no matter where we go, Kimberley, domestic, WA coast, international, we will offer a range of shore excursions. And that might range, there might be an option of a relatively strenuous hike to a lookout or viewpoint. But we'll also offer, a more gentle option, be it a beachcomb or a walk on a flat level kind of path along the beach or wherever we are. And where applicable, we'll also offer, the option to stay aboard our Explorer tenders or our Zodiacs to cruise along the coastlines and islands and atolls of the various places we go. The point being that we try and cater to kind of all physical requirements and provide options for all, basically. Scuba, a couple of you have asked about scuba and snorkel. You've seen from all of the kind of images and itineraries we've covered today that there's a real kind of focus on the absolutely stunning marine life, beaches and waters of the places that we go to. So scuba diving, we have scuba facilities on all 3 of our ships. You do have to be scuba certified. We don't run the PADI open water courses and train you up. I believe there is the option sometimes, and depending on demand, to give like a little intro dive in a shallow, sandy bottom bay, but that's not guaranteed. So if you are qualified and scuba diving in some of these locations, like the Abrolhos Islands and Ningaloo Reef, is absolutely stunning. I've had the opportunity to do some of those myself. Then please let us know at the time of booking, or get your travel agent to let us know, and we can reserve you an option there. Snorkeling wise, available to all. So when you join any of our expeditions, we'll provide you with your snorkel gear, which is yours for the duration of the trip. We also give you a beach towel as well, so it's just one less thing to pack. And like I say, a lot of these itineraries, particularly the Abrolhos and Ningaloo, it's all about getting in and under the water and enjoying that, spectacular crystal clear waters, marine life, and by the sounds of it, some really kind of healthy reef systems. Is it all inclusive? So pretty much, yes, it's a premium all-inclusive experience with certain exceptions. So scuba diving being one of those. We provide you with all the gear, but it does come at an additional cost. Snorkeling, absolutely including. All our shore excursions, absolutely all included. Obviously, all your meals whilst you're on board, all included. We do include alcoholic drinks during lunch and dinner service, but any drinks outside of said service times would come at an additional expense. And then things like laundry. We do have laundry facilities on board, but that's a very small additional cost. Other than that, it's pretty much an all-inclusive kind of on board and ashore experience. Wi-Fi, I get asked this all the time, and I think this is my final question today. Until about best part of a year or so ago, I would say, particularly in some of the more remote areas, like the archipelago of the Recheche Islands, down off the south coast there, Wi-Fi would have been, dodgy, if not, not available at all. We spent a small fortune, not that Elon Musk needs the money, but with the old Starlink Wi-Fi technology across all three of our ships in the fleet. We include what we call our standard Wi-Fi package in the fare you already pay. This Wi-Fi is now good enough that it's going to cater for the vast majority of, most people's needs, keeping in contact with friends and family, uploading your amazing images and video clips to social media, that type of thing. If you're unlucky enough that you have to take a really important work Zoom call, or God forbid you have the time to download the latest Netflix movies, which I can assure you you're not going to have the time to do, you might want to upgrade to our kind of premium Wi-Fi service, which can handle those types of Wi-Fi download speeds, and that would come at an additional cost. But for 99.9% of the guests that travel with us, the standard included Wi-Fi, when I've been chatting to the crew on board, they say the Wi-Fi is now better than our kind of Cairns head office on the mainland here. So yeah, standard Wi-Fi comes included. I'm going to wrap it up now. There's a couple more questions keeping coming through, but I don't want to keep you too long. We've just gone over the hour. I'll get back to you directly after this webinar for those couple of questions coming through. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate it. Please reach out to our service team up in Cairns. Give us a call, send us an email, get your travel agent to do so on your behalf. WA, me and Nigel are a little bit biased. Well, Nigel's done a lot of traveling in WA. I've done quite a bit down in the southwestern corner there. It's an absolutely spectacular location. Many of the places we go to are only accessible by small ship expedition kind of cruise itineraries, and we've been doing it for years, many of those itineraries. Please come and join us on board. We look forward to seeing you. And like I say, Nigel, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate that, mate, to provide your insight into some of those locations. So thank you for your time. Thank you to you guys for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.